role. How would you characterize how the market played out for you?
Yeah, first time in this seat, able to kind of follow the ups and downs, a bit of a roller coaster. But I think that's pretty normal for this time of year. I think most fortunately we're able to accomplish what we set out to do.
Yeah, you stated kind of some of the needs that you wanted to us in Colorado. How satisfied are you with the acquisitions?
Yeah, I think anytime you can go to a deadline with a pretty clearly defined shopping list and walk out feeling like you accomplished it, I think you feel good about it. I think this team has shown that they are more than capable. We're winning. We have our sights set pretty squarely on the playoffs and deserve some reinforcements. So I think the combination of what we were able to bring in over the last couple of days and some guys getting healthy positions us really well.
Can you talk about what Sims and Garcia bring?
Yeah, so our bullpen was identified as an area of need. Both bring a little bit different repertoires. Sims with pretty dominant breaking ball, a ton of swing and miss. Garcia has been a pretty consistent performer in this league for a really long time. And so I think what it does is it lengthens our bullpen, both from kind of a workload and gives Alex more options at the back end.
Do you expect them both here tomorrow?
We're actually, as I was coming up, we're working through logistics, so I don't quite know what the timetable looks like for their report.
Right, you had said a preference was to get controllable players, but other than Priester, most of these guys are rentals. What was the dynamic there in terms of the market and asking prices on guys that you could control longer?
Yeah, I wasn't alone in seeking controllable players. It turns out, I think, unsurprisingly, and a lot of what happens over the deadline is dictated by the opportunities in front of us. I think I was pretty clear that we didn't want to walk out of the deadline without addressing the bullpen, the rotation, and getting a right-handed bat. And our preference would have been to bring in controllable pieces, but in the event that those didn't exist, we needed to get rentals.
Greg, you had talked about just the surplus of prospects in the system, the depth of the system, and how it's built up over the years, and to be able to trade several guys that are Rule 5 eligible. Was that sort of a goal almost heading in of trying to find guys like that would fit trades for you to be able to add to the current team?
Well, we're constantly having to manage the roster, right? And that's not just the players who are on the 40-man roster, but also the players who are off and potentially eligible to be added. And I think mostly the consideration was trying to address the needs of our big league team. And fortunately, there are plenty of areas through the minor leagues where we feel really good about the talent that we've amassed. But to improve the major league team, we have to make difficult decisions and trade good players, and those decisions are never easy. My guess is we traded a lot of major league talent today, but this is where we are, and I think the team has shown that they deserve to be reinforced.
Garcia had a relationship has worked with Bailey before. What were your conversations like with that trade?
Yeah, so Andrew, I guess we're kind of getting to an age where I was Andrew was teammates with him, but then also his coach, which I think is a pretty interesting dynamic. So has history, has a great relationship with him. Spoke to kind of both the competitive nature and the talent, and the willingness to take the ball and compete and not be overwhelmed by what pitching in a place like Fenway Park can mean. So I think we feel really lucky to have brought him in, and the fact that he can come in with Andrew and see a familiar face right away hopefully eases the transition for him.
Craig, even after getting Paxton, were you still in the market for a starter?
Yeah, I felt like bringing in Paxton, who's a guy who is familiar with not only the division but also this place, kind of set us up to be, to walk out of here having accomplished getting a starting pitcher. But at the same time, if there were other opportunities, we would certainly explore them. We didn't line up as often happens during this period of time, but I think we were pretty expansive in looking for opportunities to upgrade.
You talked about not ruling out moving off your pending free agent guys. Were those conversations that you really listened on, shut down immediately, or how would you define kind of the calls on maybe Pivetta, O'Neill, Kenley?
Yeah, no, I meant what I said. When I said that I think this team has positioned itself to be deserving of adding and improving. We were able to do that, but also that I was going to be anchored to doing what I thought was best for the Red Sox, and if that meant that there was an opportunity to add a massive amount of talent, potentially at the expense of one of those guys, that we had to listen. and we set a very high bar that would have needed to have been met, and it wasn't. So I think we are certainly a better team because those guys are here, and look forward to them taking the field and helping us win games down the stretch.
People talked a lot about the Kikuchi trade being, an extraordinary return. Did that alter the dynamics of the last 24 hours in terms of what teams were asking for controllable guys or just starting pitching of any sort? And did that tempt you at all to turn around and listen on some guys that you had?
I think we were taking every situation individually. I think if you get caught up in what you think the market is going to bear, you often will be surprised. So I think we were running our own race. It kind of set what we believe to be a high bar for those guys, and if it was met, we were going to have a really difficult decision to make, and it wasn't. That's okay. That's a better outcome for the Boston Red Sox, especially in 2024, and we were prepared for that. So I don't think what happened elsewhere really dictated what we were able to accomplish. Like I said, we walked in here thinking that we needed to address those three needs and feel like we did.
Greg, what were some of the things that you saw with Priester that intrigued you, that you think you can help him with, that you can take him to the next, level?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that I've followed for a long time, actually going back to my Cubs days, and I think he's an extreme strike thrower, induces weak contact, keeps the ball off the barrel of the bat. I think he's still young and projectable. When you put his age relative to what the rest of our young major league team looks like, he's still younger by oftentimes multiple years. And if you threw him into our AAA rotation, I think he'd be among the youngest, if not the youngest pitcher there. So I think we firmly believe that if we get him in our infrastructure, his best years are ahead of him, and there's a lot of potential to work with. He's got a pretty deep mix. He throws strikes with across 5 different pitches, and we feel like adding some strength, working on the delivery a little bit, and tweaking some of the pitches, hopefully get the best out of them.
How would you describe the dynamics of the pursuit of relief, particularly would you have, did the last couple of weeks change the urgency of getting maybe multiple relievers? And then as you're watching, I know you said running your own race, but you're also trying to compete in this market, right? So as you were finding out what asking prices were on relievers, did you think it was realistic to add a couple of them?
Yeah, I mean, there were certainly moments over the last week or so where I think we were saying, man, this is going to be not just kind of expensive in terms of dollars, but expensive in terms of the impact it might have on our future, and it's a really tough decision to make. But I think what you look for in these instances is where you have players that maybe don't have a clear path to realizing their value here, but are really talented, and the industry recognizes that, and so we're able to kind of move players that like I said, are talented, but maybe don't have the clearest path for players that will impact our major league team in the near term. Fortunately, we were able to do that. Now, thinking about some of the way that games have played out coming out of the All-Star break, I do think that there was some urgency around addressing that, and didn't feel like waiting for our guys to get healthy was the best path for us.
In addition to not losing guys in the Rule 5 draft because of the trades that you made, it frees up some space to maybe promote some players to maybe AAA. Do you see some of that coming as well?
I have no idea who you might be talking about. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've talked about promotions being driven by appreciating what the best development environment is for any individual player. We kind of take a fresh look at that every week, and so that's something top of mind. And we have a number of really talented players that we will have a conversation about again, I'm sure, as soon as Monday.
Did you feel like you were close on any bigger deal, and when did you know that probably those sort of deals weren't going to be a reality?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to be evasive. You never actually know if you're close, because I think everyone is trying to weigh one opportunity against the next, and there were times where we felt like we were really close and things didn't work out, and then other times where we felt like we were miles apart, and they come together really quickly. So I think what you try to do is cast as wide a net as possible and explore different concepts, and then narrow the targets down, especially as you approach the last day of the deadline.
So so obviously the market became what it was. When did you understand that the market was going to be what it was, and it was going to be this difficult?
I mean, I think we saw a handful of trades that others have pointed to as kind of being significant benchmarks in this market, but I do think so much depends on individual team needs and the way that they value players. So what we might look at as an overpay or an underpay is certainly not viewed as such by at least one of the teams involved in a transaction. So it's just so hard to try to contextualize all of these moves. Like, we have to understand how we value our players and how we value potential targets, and hope that we can find overlap.
How close to 6 p.m. did the Garcia transaction get made?
It came down to the wire. He's a guy that we had identified early on, but we were like everybody else is kind of running multiple paths, and fortunately we were able to line up. I think it was within the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay. Given the acquisitions and the guys you'll have coming back off the IL, how confident do you feel that you can be playing into the forward?
Yeah, I think we feel really confident. And you never want to put a ton of pressure on any individual player, but I think the combination of getting guys like Tristan and Vaughn back, and Trevor's talked about his interest and deep desire to come back and impact our team this year, plus getting Martin back, getting Slayton back, and Liam is making a ton of progress. So I think there are enough kind of pieces out there to feel like Alex has a really versatile bench, a number of options down in the bullpen, and we'll see how it plays out.
So you see Chris as being able to impact the big league team?
Yeah, I think so, and obviously we'll see how the health comes and how he progresses from a baseball perspective. But I don't think that anything has happened to change how we think about him and what we believe he's capable of. Simply because he's been injured.
The last few years, players have asked for help at the trade deadline, and I know you weren't here for that, but they've talked about kind of how deflating it was to basically feel like there wasn't really help coming. Can you just describe kind of the atmosphere that you felt this year at the trade deadline, with players kind of knowing you publicly saying, help is coming, and then that help getting brought in?
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to go through the clubhouse post deadline and see the players. I think the players and Alex and the rest of the staff deserve a ton of credit for remaining focused on the play on the field. I think if you follow what players were saying over the last couple of weeks, what Alex has been saying over the last couple of weeks, is that we have a job to do in the office and trying to set the course and find the right pieces both in the near term and the long term. And Alex's job, the rest of the coaches and the players, is to do everything they can to win each game each night. And I think that's a really important and powerful dynamic, and one that we both appreciate.
How close do you think Hendricks might be to a rehab?
Don't want to put a timeline. I think I've learned that if you beat that, you'll wonder if he's moving too quickly, and if there's any type of delay, we'll be wondering what the setback is. I think he's making a ton of progress, and he and the coaching staff and the athletic and the medical staff are really excited about the speed at which he is progressing.